migrate the data. So first of all, I will tell you what you would have done if you wanted to actually upload the data inside AWS. So let's start from the very beginning, in which case I will just go and terminate this instance and we will create a base instance from the very start then. So let's get started. Launch instance. And let's take a T3 medium instance, launch. So let's call this instance as, let's say, MySQL. And make a connection with that instance. And I should have made a connection with that very instance. Okay, so yes. Now, if at all you are working on MySQL, in ideal scenarios, what you should do is, first of all, whenever you are working on this, you should go and launch an instance which is preferably working on MySQL. So in ideal scenarios, you should have selected Ubuntu 16, which is the best way to work with that. Okay, so that's the same thing I'm going to do now. I'll go and create a MySQL instance inside North Virginia, and that too I will do it inside Ubuntu 14. What I will do is I will create the instance inside North Virginia and we will update the data inside the bucket inside Mumbai. So that will be like mimicking the data from North Virginia, which is the customer's location, and the same thing I will just update it inside my bucket inside S3. So let's get started with that. So fine, select. For some time until the connection is established, and if it is done, now let's go and start. So okay, okay, if this is not there, let's just install the local chain over here, and fine. Now we will go and just install MySQL over here. Once the update is done, to confirm or to check if MySQL is there or not, just go and type MySQL. Because MySQL is not present, so in this case it will just give you the error saying that MySQL package is not found. In ideal cases, you will just go and now install MySQL server. For that case, just go and type sudo apt-get install MySQL -server. This command is there for Ubuntu, so yes, it should work. And just type the password. I'm giving my password as password itself. You should not do that. You should just give a complex password. So if everything is good, you can now type MySQL and it should not give you the previous error saying that MySQL is not a known command that I had seen earlier over there. Okay, so this one, I don't see this error, so I know that everything is fine. Now to make a connection, I will just go and type MySQL -u, give -u root, and The username is root and the password is password in my case. If everything is good, I should have connected with my MySQL database at this point of time. Now we will have to go and create certain databases to test it out that whether everything is working or not. For that, let's just go and search for MySQL, create database, and we will go through the official documentation itself. Also remember that the version that we are looking for is version 5.6 or 5.7. So you can take any one of them. Generally avoid using 8.0. So let's create a database right now. Migrate over here. If everything is good, go back and you can use this and it should give you the response like database changed over here. Okay, so done. Yes, it gives us the correct thing. So we are good till here. Now, if I have to create a table, let's go and create a table over here. And to check the tables, if I do this, I should see empty set over there. Fair enough. I see empty set, which is fine. Now, if I have to create a table, I just have to go and give this over there. And a table is created. Now, if I again go into show tables, it should show me one table over there by the name of pet. Earlier, it was showing me empty set. Fine. Now finally I'll go and just add some information inside the table. This can be done in two ways. Either I can load a file over here or I can just use the insert statement as it's mentioned over here. Let's just write it. Let's name it as pet1 and fine. Similarly, I'll just go and make it pet2 over here and make it 1 and I will just change it to okay, so I have two values. Now, if I have to check it, I just have to go and do select star from and let's say pet over here and we are good. So I see two values, pet1 and pet2. Now that I have already entered two values over here, now let's see how to perform a restore or how do I take a backup of this. So step number one, whenever you take a whenever you have to migrate, ideal scenario, you can just go and take a, we call this term as a dump. So you can take a dump of the database. So when I say database, I didn't say any specific table. Rather, I said you take the dump of the complete thing as it is. Okay, so for that, I will have to run a command over there. So let's go and write the command to take a dump. It is MySQL dump -u, which is stands for user, which is root. And I say take a dump of all databases and take it inside a file by, let's say, backup1.sql. Okay, so if everything is good, I should see over here all database whatever it is there. Now because it gave me an error over here, and the reason for that is you have given MySQL dump and you have only given the username. If you remember earlier when we were logging into the application, we had also given something as -p. So in this case, if you don't give -p, I am trying to connect to MySQL with no password over here. And I do have a password, which is -p. So this time I'll just go and give -p also over there. And it should ask me for the password. If I enter the correct password, which is password, I should see the data of my file. So entire dump has been kept inside this file backup1.sql. In real life, actually, this will be a complex thing because this is going to be a quite a big file. For our understanding, right now it's a small file. So let's go and have a look at the content over here. If you see, this is the backup or this is how the database can be created. In this case, if you see, I am creating a table over here, and then whatever table name and column names are there, it will all show up over here. So entire database, whatever I have, including MySQL itself, is all shown up over here. Anyhow, what we are more interested in right now is this file right now exists. So assume that right now I am sitting on the client's computer. So I just have a MySQL database and I have already taken a dump of it. Now what I want to do actually is I want to go and create a user and I want to update this data to S3. The important thing is I will have to update the data to S3. For that purpose, I will first of all have to go and create a user over here inside my IAM. So once I go to IAM, I am going to go and give IAM the permissions to S3 so that using that, I can go and update data to my bucket. I'll also go and create a bucket, which I had created earlier, and I will just update the data to that particular bucket. Fine. In this case, I'll just go migration user, or let's say SQL hyphen migration hyphen user, and I'm giving it programmatic access. Next permissions, and I'm attaching the policies directly, and I will give it access only to S3 right now. So S3 full access, tags, review, create, and I do have a user now, using this user, I can go and directly update data to my S3 bucket. So let's do that. For that, if I have to use S3 via the CLI, I will have to install CLI. The easiest way is just type the name of the command and it will automatically tell you that if you run this command, I will automatically install AWS CLI for you. So I just go and type that command as it is and I press Y to confirm, and yes, CLI is installed. Once that is done, I will need these two things over here, access key ID and the secret access key. But before that, I also need to go and create my S3 bucket where I am going to save the data for whatever migration I have done or whatever dump file I have created. So for that, I remember already creating a bucket some time back over here, which was a private bucket, by the way, with transfer acceleration enabled. This was the bucket that we had created, migration Feb 2021. Right now it is empty, it doesn't have any object. Fine, I am going to add the object to it shortly. For that, I go back to my console and I just type AWS configure over here. It will ask me for four things: access key ID, which is this, secret access key, which is this, region, which happens to be US East 1, and output format I am giving, let's say, table. Now, if in case you want to change it, no worries, you just type AWS configure, access key ID not to change, region, let's make it AP South 1, and output format I have put table only. Okay, now the thing is that whatever data is inside my backup1.sql has to be updated to this bucket. For this, I can either use a sync command or I can use a CP command, any one of them. So let's go and type AWS S3 sync, or even CP for that sake, CP and the name of the file. Okay, no worries, just do this. And I have to copy it to S3 colon / and this over here. If this all is done, the entire data should be updated to my S3 bucket, like I can see over here. So if I go and just click anywhere outside and go back to objects, I will see that the data would have started to be here. Let's just refresh it once. And I see all the data is already over here. Okay, so the data that I'm interested in is backup1.sql. So let's do a thing. Let's just leaving this. Let's just go and delete everything else. So because I had done a sync, so it actually copied everything, including the header file. So this is the file that I'm actually interested in, backup1.sql. Now, if you have to do the migration for this one, let's go back inside our RDS over here. And let's say restore from S3. Okay, the bucket name was migration Feb. And the bucket name that I have is this one. And I want to go for MySQL and whatever version I had selected, database 1, let's say, and the ID and the password. Let's put the password as password itself here. And in real time, it should actually be a pretty complex password. And if everything is good, I can go for any of the instance classes. Let's say I've gone for a T3 micro. In ideal cases, it should again be a standard class, not this small class. And I want to create storage only of 10 GB right now. And if everything is good and I click on create database, in this case, right? And if you click on create database, in this case, it tells you error S3 ingestion role ARN in params. Now the error behind this is that if in case you have the data and you have the file over here, in that case, you cannot go and update the data directly. So the concept here is that you should have the same workload that you had selected over there. So in ideal cases, what you should have had done would be that you can go and create a prefix over there. Prefixes as you can go and put the data over there and then put a subfolder over there, and you can directly migrate the data from that S3. Alternatively, what you can do is the same way as you had done the export, you can do the import also using your EC2 console. For that, let's go and do that also once. So let's make it EC2. Let's go and launch the same instance again here. Okay, let's make it as migrated instance. Fine. So in that case, let's go and make a connection with this instance over here. This, and let's stop this right now and make a connection with that machine. This, by the way, is the second machine now. Password and password. And I obviously have to download the file from my S3 bucket. For that, we will do AWS S3 sync again on this folder and do that. So let's go and make a connection. Okay, first of all, let's go and install AWS CLI. For that, just go and type AWS. It will error out saying that it is not there. Then you can use this command to install that and press Y. While it is happening, let's just go and see if I still have the access key ID. Yes. Have it, fair enough. Now let's go and make a connection with it first of all. Okay, first of all, let's go and do a AWS configure over here so that I can give my credentials. Credentials are present over here. And this place and AP South 1, and let's put it as table over here. Now, if I go and I have to get the data, for that, I just have to, let's create a folder first of all over here. Let's not repeat the same thing. So let's make it temp1. We have created a folder by the name of temp1, and we go inside temp1 and let's do a sync the other way around. So now I will sync from the bucket to here. For AWS S3 sync and S3 colon / and my bucket name, which was, okay, should be somewhere over here up. This. So Let's sync from this bucket to my local right now. And if everything is good, in that case, I should see my backup1.sql file coming up over here. Now, if everything is good, let's go and do a restoring one or migration. Sudo for that, just type MySQL and give -u root -p, which will ask me for the password, then the database, MENAGERIE, the database that we had created, and then whatever the name of the file is, backup1.sql. Now, if everything is good and you can go and type password over here, it will go and give you a error, unknown database MySQL. Now, if you understand, the reason for that is you haven't created the database till now by the name of MySQL. So let's first of all go and create that the same way as we had done earlier. So in this case here, so create database here, this, to check that whether it is created, you can do use, and it should be good now. Now let's finally go and run the same thing again. Now, if everything is good, let's just go and connect with my database again. Let's go and use the database, and then if we have to view all the tables, we can just go and do a show tables over there. I see a table by the name of name, and I do select star from pet over here, and I see both the records inside back into my application. So this is a way by which you can do the migration of the databases. The previous database was inside North Virginia, which was this instance, and the new one is inside your new region, which is inside again North Virginia. So I have migrated this from MySQL to this one. Now, in the same way, the commands that you ran over here, the same commands you can run inside any of the operating system. It does not matter. At the end of the day, the data should be there inside your S3 bucket. If it is there inside your S3 bucket, you have the complete access to it. This sort of a error, if you see, the error for that is the role that you have created is not allowing database to go and access it. For that, you will have to go and create a role by which your RDS can go and manage S3 bucket. If you remember that when you created a role, inside that role, you have to give access to RDS so that it can go and use S3. If that all is good, then it will be good, because in this case, you will be having certain things as a role also over here. So if that is all good, then yes, it will happen. Okay, now you can take this as your assignment. Try the same way as we have done over here. This one, you can go and create a role of your own and then make it to access it. Just try it as your assignment, and then anyhow, this is if you have to migrate it to RDS, but in ideal cases, you would want to migrate it inside your own data center or inside your own EC2 instances, in which case you will have to do it this way, the way that we have done. Okay, so that's it for the migration.